Okay, and we are live. I think, I hope. Let me know if you can hear me or not. Um, Thanks everyone for joining me so far. Thank you very much. Good to see you, Lainey and John. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. You guys are always up late. It's a pretty late one for you, John. 3 a.m. in the morning. Wow. I mean, have you slept or you just stayed up or getting up anyway? Early morning or late night? All right. So, what are we going to talk about today? There's a few things we can talk about today. Actually, I came across an article today that was sent to me. Actually, hello Josephine, good to see you. Um, this is a really a clear case of Dunning Kruger, if ever I've seen one. But that's kind of a typical thing these days, I guess. But I had like a Substack sent to me, and it's a trainer, and it's like most fitness trainers, like the fitness industry trainers are, they're all pretty much on par. They're very ignorant, honestly. And I used to be one of them, so I can understand why they think they know what they're talking about, because people believe in their education. Um, but this article that was sent to me today is quite funny. Hey, Bob, how you doing? um, but it was quite funny. It was talking about how to turn off cortisol permanently, right? And it just made me laugh, honestly. Um, Cortisol, I know everyone is, kind of stresses about cortisol, and I'm going to tell you why. You need to be sort of wary of people who think that you need to turn it off, sort of thing. Um, there we go. Good to see you, and George, thanks for joining me, mate. Cortisol is actually an essential hormone. If you turned off your cortisol, okay, you would die. You would die without it. All right. Um, there are actually conditions where I forget the name of the condition. Actually, I'll have to look it up in my article. But um, there are actually conditions where people who do not produce enough cortisol, okay, have it's quite a life threatening sort of um, you know metabolic problem. So the fact that there's so many people that these days are always telling you, oh, you got to stop cortisol production, stop cortisol production. It's just crazy. They don't understand what cortisol is. For a start, it's a hormone, okay? And when it comes to all of your hormones are essential, right? And I mean, your body is an ecosystem, right? Everything works together synergistically for, if anything upsets that ecosystem in any sort of, you put something out of balance, then you're going to have problems, right? Now, obviously, like you can have problems where you have elevated cortisol levels and constantly elevated cortisol levels, but it's not the cortisol that's the problem. It's the reason that you have elevated cortisol levels. Okay. um Now, again, people label it as a stress hormone, but it's not a stress hormone. It's a hormone that reacts to stress. Okay, surely. So it's not that your body is going through stress because of because of cortisol. All right. If you're going through stress, then that's going to be one of the reactions for your body to try and deal with that stress. There are a number of reasons why cortisol is essential for us. Okay. I actually have an article. We can talk more about that on my Substack, actually. But um, essentially, like I mean, for example, it's your wake up hormone. It's the first. That's that hormone that makes you feel alert and awake first thing in the morning. Okay, it's not the coffee. It's the cortisol that's actually working, and it's the cortisol also gives you that drive to do things in life. To get up and get out and get motivated. So, you know, it's it's not so much the cortisol that you need to control, it's your nervous system that you need to control so that you're not always in that autonomic nerve, like that parasympathetic or sympathetic nervous state where you are constantly producing cortisol out of time. Okay. Um, so I think it's it's a bit of a worry that people actually think that it's something you need to turn off, and it's kind of a worry that people actually listen to it and think that you can do that. Um, yeah, but anyway, I mean, there's so many other things to it. Actually, abs really explains this stuff really well too. Um, so have a look at Dr. Ab's video on cortisol. Actually, is really good. But when it comes to, I mean, if you're talking about, I mean, you want to control the levels of cortisol. Again, that comes down to controlling your nervous system, right? And that's what we've been talking about for weeks now, talking about breath work. Yeah. So controlling your breath, well, controlling your nervous system will help to keep that ecosystem, or your hormones timing right and levels right. You know, so it's not really a matter of trying to reduce your cortisol levels. Um, I think that it's crazy to think that you can just keep doing that with these health fads that are out there that are always trying. There's always these health hacks out there, and these hack sort of trainers that, oh, you got to control your cortisol, get your hormones down, and all this sort of crazy nonsense. But you get that the world is crazy. Ah, he's sitting in the wrong room. Okay. I woke up at 5 a.m. yesterday. Oh, wow. Yesterday morning, I've been intensely working on a video that I'm really enjoying. Oh, okay. Fair enough. I know it's kind of, it gets that way. You get it into a project, it's kind of hard to let go until it's done, isn't it? You know, but should prioritize your sleep though too, mate. Yeah. Hey George, that's too funny. Cortisol's in your body for a reason. Yeah, elevated cortisol is not good. Yeah, that's true. Um, but when insulin and cortisol is in track, that isn't a good thing. No, that's right. Again, it really comes down to having everything working at the right time in the right levels, and it's an ecosystem that needs balance. Um, yeah. Hey, meet Reset Go. Louise, good to hear from you. Good to see you there. Thanks for joining us. Having a big problem with my cortisol and glucagon. 44 years driving a truck. Yeah, that's pretty hard. Taught my body to remain in the fight or flight mode. Yep. So my liver is constantly dumping glucose. Yeah, exactly. My door is stuck open. Yeah. Yeah. See, like, this is the problem that we have with today's society, right? Is the routines that are not natural. Like, for example, driving a truck and working night shifts, and working all these extra long hours and so on. It makes it very difficult, and your body will adapt to those situations. But the problem is that when it gets into those, it's not a natural situation. So it's reacting to that adaptation or those habits. Basically, it's like being in a bad habit, isn't it? So it really is difficult to break those habits and to get your body clock right again, isn't it? So yeah, it takes time. Sometimes it might take years actually to get your body clock sort of sorted straight again. Especially if you spend like 44 years driving a truck. Yeah, it's a long time. It's like a 44-year habit, really, isn't it? Hello, Louise. Sorry, knock on the door every time I feel. Okay. Eleni. Yeah, we can't get out. Yeah, we can't out hack our bodies. No, that's the thing. Like, um, I mean, there's any number of like there's hundreds of hacks out there nowadays. Like everyone thinks they've got the answer, right? Everyone thinks they've got the silver bullet that just do this and you'll get a six pack abs, or just do this and you'll be fit, and just do this and you'll be healthy, and all this other BS. Um, but like, honestly, it's really about trying to live, as close to an ancestral sort of lifestyle as we can in a very unnatural sort of world. And I mean, we use, I know some people will say like ice bath is a hack or breathwork is a hack sort of thing, but these are ancestral sort of ways of doing things. Yeah, sure, they didn't have ice baths, for example, but they did have like cold rivers and lakes, and they never had heating for their water. So they had a bath, for example, they'd bath in the river or a waterfall or something like that. In winter, they'd still swim, especially from like like the northern sort of state, like countries like Europe and even Japan. Like Japan, they love doing the ice bath stuff as well. Traditionally, like winter, they love doing the onsen. The onsens are the like hot springs. So they do the hot springs, and then they sort of go and jump in the snow, just like the Europeans do. And Chinese, Mongols, we all did that sort of stuff in the past, ancestrally. Um, and it's remarkable. It really is remarkable. It's just these simple things, that routines or habits that we can still do today that really cost nothing, or nothing extra, really. That the effect that they can have on our body, on restoring that ecosystem. It's remarkable. What's the difference between cortisol and adrenaline? Well, okay. Well, cortisol is, I mean, off the top of my head, I'm just like as simple as I can. It's a hormone, basically, that is going to, it lasts longer than adrenaline. Like adrenaline is like a shot, like having a shot, and that will sort of, you get a so like if we're talking about nervous system wise, okay, like you can actually, this would be much easier in my Substack, actually, because I find it much easier to write this stuff out rather than talk about it. But if you are like simple terms, like adrenaline is kind of like having a shot of cortisol, like you get that boost of energy that doesn't really last very long. Whereas cortisol is a hormone that will wake you up in the morning, and that will last right through, because it's a hormone. And of course, there are other things, other processes that we use cortisol for. It's not just about waking you up and being alert and spiking insulin and that sort of stuff. We actually need those insulin spikes as well, because that actually helps get proteins into the muscles, and everything else is like it helps all these other processes. Um, Whereas adrenaline is really just about um, sort of sparking the brain a bit. Like you get like an alert sort of. It's really a brain, more brain activity, rather than, whereas the cortisol will affect the rest of the body as well. You know, um, as far as I understand, I mean, like you'll get a better explanation from people like abs, actually, like when it comes to that sort of thing, like the actual mechanisms of it. Um, but as far as I understand it, it's kind of like taking a short shot. You get an adrenaline rush from like you will get, obviously, cortisol will spike, obviously, and but adrenaline is kind of, I don't know, it's hard to, I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to explain it. It's more like, when you do something like if you get like if you do a bungee jump, right, for example, you're going to get an adrenaline shot, right? But that's a big cortisol spike as well. It's cortisol that, I mean, you need cortisol to actually get that adrenaline spike, you know, that adrenaline shot. It's kind of like the basis of it. Had oncologist yesterday. Oh, good, excellent, Laney. Excellent bloods and health. Excellent work. Asked me about my diet. He had very heard of the carnivore way of life. I had to explain no carbs. Oh, okay. So you hadn't heard of the carnivore diet. Okay. Well, it's good to see your bloods have done so well. Excellent. That's very good, Laney. Well done. So yeah, it's a very simple process, isn't it? Once you get the right stimulus, um, it's surprising to me how simple it is. If we can just shut out all the noise of, all the processed foods, the standard Western diet, and all the BS that comes with it, and of course, all the narratives out there, all these different hacks and stuff. It's remarkable how simple it is. It really is. He was interested in, and I think he will have a look at it. Oh, that's good. Excellent, Laney. Yeah, I think like my oncologist was the same actually. When I spoke to him, I mean, years ago when I first spoke to him about it, he didn't think it was all that flash, but he did say that he was kind of interested in it because his father actually got himself off diabetes because of meat, basically meat heavy diet. Anyway, ketogenic diet, not strictly carnivore, but a ketogenic diet. But he hadn't really thought about doing anything, with towards cancer sort of treatment. Not that he could anyway in a public health system here in Australia. It'd be very difficult for anyone to, or for a doctor to sort of deviate outside the protocols, and that's kind of the trouble that they all have as well. Even if they do want to, it's very difficult for them to sort of deviate from the the protocols that hospitals have, but at least, if they sound interested, maybe they'll look it up, and at least they'll try it, maybe, perhaps, who knows. Are related to low gear and high gear. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much that's a good way to put it, John. Yeah, because you need, I mean, it's the cortisol spike that actually gives you that adrenaline hit, right? And it's kind of like giving yourself a shot, like a booster shot. And that's why you get when you do something like that requires a lot of, or that produces a lot of adrenaline or a lot of cortisol, like jumping off a bridge, like bungee jumping, right? That adrenaline shot, like that cortisol shot, is that adrenaline that you're feeling, So it's kind of like a booster shot. And that's why you tend to, there was actually a study done in the 90s. Actually, I spoke about this with Dr. Seeger when we're talking about ice baths, right? There was a study done in the 90s, and they did repeated parachuting, jumping out of an airplane. And they used two different groups. One group had never jumped before. One group were professional jumpers, and so on. What they found was that the new jumpers had a massive cortisol spike in their first jump. Okay, and every consequence jump, so their adrenaline levels were really high after the first jump, because it's the first time they've ever jumped out of an airplane. But then, like an hour later, they jump again, and every time they jump, their cortisol levels, just the cortisol response was lower and lower and lower. Okay, meaning that they didn't get that original adrenaline rush that they got from the first one. every other one afterwards, their cortisol was elevated, but you didn't get that same adrenaline rush that they got from the first one. So basically, what they're saying is that, and with the professionals, they had a minor cortisol spike in the first one, but then every consequence, every jump afterwards, they didn't get. They only had minor sort of elevations, and none of the professionals had an adrenaline rush. So what they gathered was from that study that you only have like one good cortisol spike in your for the day, right? Especially if it's the same thing, like a repeated sort of thing. You get more comfortable with it. So I think that it's really more about your nervous system, because if you are like if you're jumping off a bridge or jumping out of an airplane for the first time, you're gonna be very damn nervous, right? And you're going to get anxiety. You're going to activate that sympathetic nervous state. Cortisol is going to rush, and you're going to get that adrenaline rush, right? Once you've landed and you're excited, you've known that you're safe now. That's when the adrenaline rush is going to hit, right? Because it's going to feel so good. But then afterwards, your cortisol level won't spike as much. It'll be minor and sort of keep going down. So you really only get that one big rush a day, really. Depending on what you're doing, of course. I think if you changed, like if you did something different, that might be different as well. Like if you did like a parachute and then you did a bungee jump, they're two different things that might produce a similar result. Who knows? And cold shower and breathing and grounding. Yes, exactly, Lainey. Yes, all about lifestyle. Diet is just part of it. So, yeah, very much so. Actually, I mean, it's really is all about that, isn't it? It's really about your lifestyle and habits, and being active, really does help. And I think that like getting those mechanisms, like the lymphatic system, I think is really important. Not just because of lymphoma and things like that, but the lymphatic system is proof positive that we are built to move. Okay. And the body needs that stimulus to move those fluids around the body. Okay. It's kind of like I said, it's an ecosystem, right? So you've got all these different sort of mechanisms working at the same time throughout the body. And a lot of these fluids, like they're some of the most important fluids in your body, like three of the most important fluids in your body. Okay, so one obviously is blood. Next, then you've got like cerebral spinal fluid. Okay, another one. And then you got lymph fluid. Right? And all of that needs circulation. And the way to circulate all these things through your body is through muscle contraction. Okay. Okay, sure. The heart will pump blood. Okay, but the heart is not really a pump for your blood. All right. And when the blood gets down to the lower extremities, say in your feet and your calves and things like that, the calf muscles are supposed to pump that blood back up to the rest of your body, back up to your heart. Okay, that's why some people will refer to the calf muscles as the heart in your legs. All right. Now, lymph fluid is very similar. Like it uses the musculoskeletal system or the skeletal muscular system as the pump to push the lymph fluid around. And the lymph fluid is what carries fat, for example. It also carries your white cells, carries what is it? Yeah, all your proteins and everything like that, and fats and everything like that goes around through your body, through your lymph fluid, through your lymphatic system. Okay, and then it obviously goes to other processes, but it needs that muscle contraction from around your body. Okay, so like your arms, your chest, your abs. That's why ab muscles are so important as well. For one reason, of course, your legs and everything needs to be pushed around the body. and it uses movement to do that. You have to move your body to do that. Now, with cerebral spinal fluid, okay, that obviously that gets circulation as well. That needs circulation as well, and this also relies on your autonomic nervous system for stimulation as well, not just diet and other things, but also breath work. Nitric oxide, okay, nitric oxide production. Obviously, like we get nitric oxide production 4 ways. Like this is how important it is, because sunlight produces it through our skin, okay, or stimulation through our skin, okay, same as D3. Let me see, ice baths also stimulate nitric oxide production, okay. Then you've also got amino acids from meat, also produces nitric oxide. And then you've got breath work as well. And breath work, because through the nasal passages and the sinus passages here, there are glands that actually will produce the majority of the nitric oxide that we get for our bodies. Okay. Now, nitric oxide is a very strong antioxidant. Okay, helps to reduce reactive oxygen species in the mitochondria. It also is a vasodilator, but it also, breathing through the nose, apart from producing nitric oxide and giving you that vasodilation, okay, which is also going to help to increase blood flow and oxygen flow to the brain, also helps you to cool the brain. And this also helps you to stimulate cerebral spinal fluid production as well. So these are, this is another good reason why breath work is so important, and why you should only breathe through your nose, in and out throughout the day. Okay. Because it helps to cool the brain, for one. Helps produce more nitric oxide. You also stimulate cerebral spinal fluid, and these are one of the most important fluids of the body. So really important that we do that. Also told him about George, and he was gobsmacked. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, they can't believe it, can they? I mean, this actually, I was talking to. Thank you, John. I really appreciate that. I was talking to, was it young Eddie? Yeah, Eddie Goki. That's right. About like people believe what they are, what they are taught. Okay, so this is why our education is full of propaganda. Okay, when we grow up, we you go to school, like you start learning the food pyramid, or the standard Western diet sort of guidelines from primary school, like from very early childhood. We learn that very early, so it's this kind of, I mean, that's not the only thing, obviously. I mean, there's a lot of things in our education that is just completely bullshit. But that's why it works, though, because people believe what they are taught. And when you go to school for so long, and you come out of university as a doctor, for example, it's very hard to convince them that they don't know anything about nutrition. And it's very difficult for them to come to terms with the fact that they don't know anything about nutrition, and that they don't have all the answers when it comes to chronic disease. See, my oncologist and the team that I've had over the years, they can't believe that I'm still alive. They can't believe that they expected me, or they didn't expect me to last very much longer even after the transplant. After 3 years of chemotherapy, they still didn't think that I was going to survive the next another few months later. So it's difficult for them to understand or believe that I'm still here, or that I am so healthy now compared to where I was. So it's very difficult for them to come to terms with the fact that they just don't really know what they're doing, or they, yeah, Well, I mean, the simple fact is they just don't know what they're doing, isn't it? I'm trying to think of a more pleasant way to put it, but that's the simple fact. Unfortunately, they know about drugs. Okay, they know about the treat. They know more about that treatment and the chemotherapy and all that sort of stuff than I do, obviously, because they've had so much more study in that field. But they don't know simple things that can help the body to recover and to heal. They don't know how to heal a body. They simply attack a disease with what the drugs they think are going to kill it. But unfortunately, they kill more patients than they do cancers. You have a look at all the money that it seems that the more money we give hospitals or the more money we give research, the more diseases we get. Have a look at. I mean, there's always these. Every government's the same, especially in the West, anyway. Especially, okay, there's a war on cancer, or there's a war on drugs, or there's war on this and all this sort of BS. Like here, it's women's cancer and it's all this sort of stuff, and everything's got to be pink and so on. And everyone throws all this money at it, and we just get more cancer. What the hell? So where does all the money go? Where they don't. When all you need to do is have a look at simple lifestyle facts. They never ever mention diet when they tell you when you get diagnosed. They never look at your diet and say, well, okay, well, maybe you should cut this out. Maybe you should do this. When I was diagnosed, like, given it's a long time ago now, but when I was diagnosed, it was, well, there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can do will affect the outcome. It doesn't matter what you eat, all right? Because it doesn't. It's not a diet thing. It's a genetic thing, So, but if you slow down for a minute and think, well, if it's a genetic thing, then my whole family should have had it. My whole family should be dead from cancer. But none of them have had it. None of them have had it at all. Although my mother does have cancer now. But again, it's just not one of them thought to say, okay, let's look at your diet. Let's take out these ultra processed foods, all these supplements and so on, and lean meats and so on. Let's add some fat. Let's add some real food. No one thought anything of it. In fact, when I had some people giving me advice saying that junk food is maybe help with cancer because it doesn't have enough nutrients to feed the cancer cells. I mean, seriously, obviously if it doesn't have enough nutrients in it, it's not going to help you either, is it? So it's just the way it is. Unfortunately, the world is a messed up place at the moment, and hopefully there's going to be a lot of changes soon. Yeah, we stop giving to a lot of charities, rather spend our money on meat. Exactly. That's the thing. I've got my own version of opinion of charities as well, because I think these especially like these celebrity charities. Okay, when it comes to celebrity charities, like Bono, for example, from U2. There was a newspaper article coming out some years back, but his one charity actually spent more money on gifts for media to paint them in a positive light than he actually spent on charity. Right? So there's a reason these celebrities start their own charities, right? Or people, they're just trying to avoid taxes for one. And if they can convince people that they're philanthropists, for example, and they can get a lot of people actually donate money to them, okay, tax free, they can actually, that's another source of income for them as well. most of them, 99% of them don't do any charity work at all, okay, or very little. But he actually only, like Bono, for example, only spent like 1.4% of his charity's intake on actual charity, but he spent like 3% on gifts for media. It's just absolutely pathetic. They're just these are evil people, and if they were really trying to help people, why wouldn't they just help a charity that was already set up and running? Why wouldn't they? Why does it have to be in their name? You know, so it's the same with all of them. They all have them. It's all just about avoiding taxes and scamming more people or scamming more people out of more money. So I don't give to charities unless I know where it's going. I do like to give to the Leukemia Foundation here in Australia, because the Leukemia Foundation, because when I was diagnosed here in Australia and I was living in Japan, that made me homeless. And when Nozomi, when my wife joined me here in Australia, and I had a full-time carer, the Leukemia Foundation put me up in free accommodation for about two years, actually, while I was going through treatments. So things like that, you can see it actually working. That's the sort of people that I will give to. Jonathan, how you doing, my man? Good to see you. Yeah. So unfortunately, that's that's the way education is, and that's the way doctors are. And unfortunately, when people get into when it comes to like most doctors, especially, or most people, when they come out of education or come out of school, they think they know everything, right? There's no need to study anymore, no need to learn new things, no need to try all these other things. So they think that they're beyond reproach, But that's the problem with the fact is that people are, doctors are still people. Same with scientists, they're just as corruptible and they're just as fallible and just as irresponsible and stupid as anyone else, really. I agree, Lenny. I can't give money at cake sales for charity. Yeah, get a pink ribbon. Yeah, it's ridiculous, honestly. Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing is, honestly, especially, I mean, I don't want to get into the whole politics of these charities too much, but it's really like they choose one, for example, we just say women because that's the most popular one. Even though, like here in Australia, for example, 3 times more men die from cancer than women do, but it's people feel more charitable, I guess, when they it's like they talk about, okay, let's donate because you've got to save women from cancer and that sort of stuff. I mean, most cancers that affect men are inoperable, okay, whereas female cancers usually, more often than not, are operable. I mean, the whole thing is, the whole cancer industry is it's just a joke, really. It's just evil. But it's the medical industry, isn't it? It's big pharma, it's medical, and I don't care. I mean, like, and apart from that, like, more children in Australia die from cancer than any other problem, than any other cause, mortality combined. All right, so like, it's a huge amount of children that are dying from cancer, and it's shockingly bad here, actually. Most of the when I was actually living in the leukemia village, while going through treatments, most of the patients that were there were actually children, which is really hard to see, because of course, they don't give the same dosage to children that they do to like did for someone like me, but any kind of chemo treatment is so hard, so heavy on a child that they usually die from the treatment itself, not the disease, you know. Um, so it's really hard to watch. Mm. They had a cake sale for charity in the cancer. Jesus, unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, you can't make that shit up. Honestly, like a cake sale for God's sake in the cancer ward. Yeah, they might as well just give you a cigarette sale or anything else like that. See that? So I just gotta check that. I'll just turn that off. That really annoys me. But it was the same, when I was in the ward still. It's kind of like, when you go into the wards for treatment, it's like a big open room, and you got a parking lot of beds, and in between there's like these recliner chairs, and people just sitting there in the chairs, or if you're lucky, you got a bed. And then you'd have there was the guy that was actually wheeling the cart around for me, like when I was in the wards, like he was huge, like he was obese, he could barely walk, so he's kind of waddling behind the cart, right? And this cart is full of like flavored milks, soft drinks, and um, cakes, cookies, chocolate bars, and all sorts of other junk food. And the nurses would actually encourage you to to eat something while you're there, to eat this junk food while you're there, so that to help settle your stomach and so on. It was crazy. In fact, they used to love to push the ginger ale because they figured that ginger actually helps you to settle your stomach. I mean, for God's sake, they have no clue what they are doing to you, honestly. You're just elaborate when you go into these wards. This is the thing. Once you are in the hospital system, it is damn difficult to get out of it, right? But when you are in there, you are basically a lab rat. They are just experimenting on you. Okay, they just want to pump you full of these drugs, and just see what happens. That's all. That's all they're doing. All right. When it comes to there was a 2004 study that it it was done. They're talking about researching the efficacy of chemotherapy drugs. In America, it's done between two countries, Australia and the US. In 2004, the chemotherapy protocols were 2.1% had a 2.1% efficacy in America. Now, in America today, even now this week, they are 1,700 people a day dying from cancer. Okay, that's a lot of people every single day, right? That's just the ones actually dying. That's not the ones being diagnosed and getting treated and everything else. That's a day dying. In Australia, the efficacy was 2.4%. Okay, because we have a much smaller population, but whatever. Since then, though, there have been more efficient sort of treatments coming out. Like even since I was in the hospital. Now here in Australia, they use something called immunotherapy, and that has had some success with lymphomas, for example, and with breast cancer, and I think it's another cancer for women or something. Yeah, but immunotherapy is actually quite good. It's actually fairly mild by comparison. It's not like some of the older chemotherapy drugs like bendamustine or CHOP that I went through. Like bendamustine. Bendamustine actually gets its name because it's from mustard gas. That's why it's got mustine. It's actually derived from mustard gas. Okay, and this is what they're pumping through your veins, right? It's crazy, absolutely crazy. Yeah. One of my gyms gives out free fruit on Mondays. Not ideal, but they're thinking. Oh well, it's crazy. It's like that was that the big American chain. They actually give out pizza every week. Um, I forget what it's called. It's like it's a really woke gym. Like you can't lift too heavy, or they kick you out, sort of thing. What was that gym called? I'll have to think of that. But yeah, there's like an American chain gym. It's actually come to Australia recently. But every week, like I think it's like every Monday they give them pizza, or every Monday or Tuesday or something. Free pizza on your way into the gym. It's ludicrous. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's a really cheap gym to go to, but you have to be. I mean, you have to be quiet. You're not allowed to. Yeah, it's really woke and sort of. But I mean, giving out pizza. I mean, for God's sake, seriously. I'd rather die with cancer than standard of care cancer treatment. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Um, yeah, I won't, I will, I refuse to get any further treatment. Um, I'm hoping I will never need treatment again. Um, I mean, it's you can never guarantee these sort of things, but with especially like follicular lymphoma, like I have, is a recurring type of cancer, right? So it's you can't get, like, there is no cure, and they always expect it to come back. But it's one of those ones that the more you treat it and the heavier you treat it, the shorter your remission period is going to be, and the more aggressive it becomes afterwards. So I was already very high stage 4 when I was diagnosed. Plus I had all that other organ damage and so on that went along with it. So it was pretty much guaranteed it was going to come back, which it did, just 2 years to the day, even though I was still going through treatments. But, like, I'm 11 and a half years in remission now. So, I mean, that's 11 and a half years I wouldn't have had before if I hadn't taken on these different lifestyle changes, So, who knows? Maybe I won't never need it again. I'm hoping I never need it again. But it's something I will never take on again anyway, even if I do get into that predicament again. But yeah, I would rather die of the disease than the treatment. Yeah. I certainly don't want to die. I don't want to die stuck in bed. I don't want to spend the last few years of my life in bed again. I spent 5 years well, more than, 3 years of treatment basically, and about 6, 7 years. Yeah, 7 years basically. 8. Wow. Yeah, almost 8 years in bed basically. I spent almost 8 years in bed basically, just because of the treatments and so on. So yeah, I would rather just go very quickly. Yeah, Louise, I'm hoping with my new lifestyle, it never returns. Yeah, exactly. But if I did, I don't think I could ever go through that treatment again. Yeah, I agree with you, Lainey. Yeah, chemo fights cancer. Carnivore fights the effects of chemo. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and it fights cancer too. So yeah, I do take one study drug, but I wouldn't do the chemo and radiation. Yeah, radiotherapy again. Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that either. And I mean, like, there are gonna be. I mean, there's always gonna be. You're always gonna need a bridge. Like, depends on where you are at, Laney. So, obviously, for your predicament, you're gonna need that bridge for now. You know, but you might find soon that you can wean yourself off and you'll feel better without it. So we all go across that bridge. That it took me a long time to wean myself off all these medications as well. Um, I was on a lot of medications when I came out of hospital. I really was. I was on a lot. Um, To be honest, throughout treatment though, I found it too difficult for me to actually keep swallowing all these pills. It's difficult for me to swallow anything anyway. I ended up fasting for the first week of treatment after treatment anyway. So swallowing the pills was too difficult. I just couldn't do it. So in the end, I just stopped taking it. Um, and even after the transplant, and through the transplant, I didn't see any point of taking pills. I was just going to throw up anyway. It just made me feel sick, made me feel worse. So, um, but there were obviously a number of other things that I did take afterwards. Like I had really bad reflux, because I was cooked afterwards. And I had, all sorts of, I had like, was it nearly 30 plus pills or something. But I ended up taking like about 42 pills a day, all these different, and of course, half of it was, to sort of mitigate the side effects of the first half, So there's always these side effects of these drugs. So it was important to me. It was very important to me to get myself off of them. That was my first goal, really. Apart from trying to learn how to breathe again, because even just trying to breathe was difficult. I was so frozen up. So it was really hard. But you want to. I mean, it's kind of difficult to just take yourself off these things, though. Too, you just really have to go by how you feel and play it by ear and just see how you. I mean, I always just took it like 1 month at a time. If I started to feel pretty good, I would eliminate one drug, for example, and then if I felt good, I would leave it out. If I didn't, then I would add it back in. And I just kept doing that until eventually I got off them completely. Night, John. Thanks for joining us, mate. Yeah. How the video works out, mate. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you're always going to need that bridge, though, aren't you? And that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But even if you do go through treatments, I think if you keep the lifestyle, if you keep like the ice bars, breath work, carnivore diet, grounding, sunlight, if you keep that lifestyle, that's going to help you get through any kind of treatments or medications that you may be on, and will certainly help you to get off those medications a lot faster, because it's going to help you to recover faster, And like I said, movement is very important. It's the circulation of, which is another great reason. When you do a cold shower or ice baths, that stimulates your lymphatic system as well. Like, so you're getting, because of that muscle contraction. Okay, breath work, again, circulation. And then, of course, if you do a little bit of exercise, even just walking and so on, these all promote that circulation of those most important fluids, like cerebral spinal fluid, your blood, and of course lymph fluid. Okay, so these are other great reasons why we do these protocols, basically. Um, when you go woke, you go broke. Hopefully, yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, the whole woke agenda, the people behind it are just pure evil. But hopefully, people who do go woke do go broke, and we'll see that very soon. Hopefully, yes, my bridge helps me feeling a little safer. Yeah, I see. That's the thing too. It's kind of difficult, really, to get your head around that sort of thing, isn't it? Because we have come to the point where we are scared to go off medications because this is what our expert doctors have given us to help us through these situations, right? So it takes, a lot of experimenting, and I probably could have gotten off my medications a lot sooner, but I had that mentality as well, where I was feeling, they keep giving me, maybe I should keep taking this just in case, Um, but like I said, look, you got to do these things in, yeah, like in just, you got to be comfortable doing these things, and you got to be test yourself out, like test these things with just how you feel at the time, you know. Um, but I guarantee you will get to the point where you just feel like you will know when you don't need it. You will know it. You will know for sure when you are comfortable and you are feeling stronger. You will feel that you just don't need that anymore. You know. I think this is this is the best part about the lifestyle habits that I promote, is that these 8 habits basically, um, all of them work synergistically to and they all work multiple mechanisms at the same time, you know? Like we're talking about with the ice baths, for example, stimulating the lymph fluid, the cerebral spinal fluid, and the blood, the lymphatic system, okay? Obviously other things like the mitochondria, brown adipose tissue, very important, okay, because that circulation, because that, okay, again, that will also get moved around through the lymphatic system, right? Then you've got the release of healthy mitochondria, the production of healthy mitochondria from the cold, okay, into the bloodstream, going to organs to repair organ tissue and everything else. And of course, the nitric oxide production, okay, also the breath work for CO2 and calming your breath, calming your nervous system. Everything just works so beautifully in this ecosystem, the way we metabolize everything. It's incredible. It really is so fascinating, honestly. Another thing would be, I mean, obviously the breath work obviously does all of this as well. This is why this is why I think that it's really important after the ice bath or after your cold shower. The breath work is your first thing to do, because you warm yourself up for one, to get back and you get warm again, but you're still stimulating all those same processes and all that same circulation, and you're helping to circulate all that mitochondria, the brown adipose tissue, and everything else, the lymph fluid and everything. And then you just feel, I don't know, you feel energized afterwards as well. You feel like you've had that stimulus with the cold bath, you've calmed your nervous system, everything feels good. The rest of the day just feels like it's much easier to manage, like everything's going to be easier to control, So I think it's really important for everyone to do that sort of thing. Doesn't matter whether you're chronic illness or if you're healthy or whatever. I think everyone should be doing that. That's what we should be doing. It's what our bodies are built for. So, and then of course, you've got your diet, and as long as you eat well throughout the day, a proper human diet, then everything's going to work perfectly, isn't it? So, yeah, that's what I tend to think of it anyway. Before I forget, someone was talking about egg burnout on Carnival Day. Like they don't feel like eating eggs at the moment. When it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter what diet you're on, or even lifestyle habits, for example. Everyone gets burnout, right? And I think that oh yeah, Terry was asking, yeah. Yeah, thanks, Bob. When it comes to burnout, now this is about everything, because even if it's a lifestyle habit, okay, sometimes you just don't feel like doing that today. For example, you've been really strict, and today you just feel like, no, I'll just give it a rest. We just can't be bothered. Try something new. Okay, so for example, if it's diet, try a new recipe. So like if you've been eating fried eggs, for example, try an omelette. Try scrambled eggs or try boiled eggs. Okay, just try something different. Or just give it a rest for a while. Don't be so hard on yourself. If you don't feel like eating eggs this week, then don't. You know, it's not that big a deal. And you're going to find that the stricter you are, I know there's a number of people who will say, um, like, I know you get the carnivore police people. They're always like, "Oh, that's not carnivore unless it's not carnivore unless it's raw," and all this sort of stuff. They all have these ridiculous rules. But whenever you are so strict on yourself, there's always going to come a point where it's just too much. Okay, you get burnout. All right. So don't be afraid to mix things up a little bit. Don't be afraid to fall off the wagon every now and then. I mean, if you don't, that's great, you know, but don't be afraid to try something different either. So, like, if you don't feel like eating beef today, then eat some seafood, eat some tuna or salmon or oysters or whatever you want, you know. And it's the same with eggs. If you don't feel like eating eggs today, then don't. All right. Or you could try a new recipe that might stimulate that interest again. So, for example, I have one recipe I like with eggs. I make scrambled eggs with um, chicken stock. Okay, I call it the family reunion because you're adding the eggs to the chicken, right? So, scrambled eggs, family reunion, bit of chicken stock, and it's really nice. Really nice. Scrambled eggs, good way to make it. So try a different recipe. You know, something like that can actually reinvigorate that interest for eggs again. You know? So, or there is actually a good, um, or you could add, you know, eggs to whatever kind of meat that you're cooking. For example, you could boil eggs in a bone broth. For example, you could try that. You know, boiled eggs in a bone broth, and you get that broth flavor in the eggs. All right. Yeah, yeah. Mummy chicken meets baby. So yeah, it's a family reunion. You know. Um, I mean, that's another way you could do it. Just try something new. Try a different recipe, or just give it a rest completely. You know, it's not that big a deal. Um, I quite like eggs actually. I do eat eggs most days, but not every day. You know, today I ate. Let me see. I ate 15 eggs today. Yeah, but yesterday I didn't have any. Right? So you know, it's. I think that whenever you're too strict, you run that risk of sort of getting that burnout, and that's the same with all your lifestyle habits as well. Like for example, if you are so strict that you have to do like 3 or 4 breathwork sessions a day every day, there's going to come a point where you are just not going to want to do it anymore. Like, and you might skip it for a week, and that's fine. It's not that big a deal. Don't be too hard on yourself, you know. Thank you, Josephine. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Um, but I think apart from that, that's really the only way to avoid burnout is to be a little bit more relaxed and try different recipes. You know, I'm not real big on recipes, to be honest, myself, because I just don't like putting that much effort into a meal. You know, that's pretty much the only recipe I have. Honestly, is just the family reunion, and everything else I just fry a steak or seafood, or if I've got it. Um, let me see. Sometimes like I might add, like if you got some leftover meat and eggs, and maybe I'll just do like a sort of stir fry sort of thing, but nothing, no sauces or anything. But that's about it. Actually, very simple. I'm very basic. I'm plain. Um, but that's really all about. Yeah, I still don't. If I still have those days where I don't feel like eating though, and then I just don't. You know, it's not that big a deal either. Um, I'm not sure. I know a lot of people do like to have different recipes and add sauces and things like that. You could try that. I'm not big on that. Um, Chicken stock, I like. I like having chicken stock, especially with the eggs. You could. I don't eat chicken meat though. I don't. I think it's too lean and too dry. And I spent over a decade eating just chicken breast. You know, I don't ever want to eat another one for the rest of my life. Um, I don't mind eating. I mean, now I prefer it with this if it's got skin on it and some fat, so like a leg or that's better. But I'm still not big on chicken meat, especially as it's monogastric as well. So I generally don't eat monogastric unless it's wild caught fish. Um, what else is there? Yeah, I mean, that's really the only way to avoid the burnout is to just mix it up a bit. Replace the eggs with some seafood if you can. Um, that's what I would do anyway. Just try something different, you know. Hmm, try sardines or something, you know. If you're into sardines, I mean, again, it doesn't have to be. Um, you don't have. I mean, you don't have to be too strict on yourself either. You know, omelets are great as well. You can add, even if you add something to it, like I mean, I don't, but you can. There's nothing stopping you from adding like something for flavor is as well, like some spices like pepper or um, maybe you know, some kind of herb or spice or something like that. You know, yeah, some people might do better that way. I think if you get to the point where you're not enjoying it, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually continue that diet. Okay, so try and find ways to enjoy it more. You know? And I think that's the same with your lifestyle habits as well. It's very difficult to get into the ice bath, for example, if you're not enjoying it. Right? But for me, it was more about when I first started doing that, I really didn't like it at all. It was too cold, you know, and I didn't like cold water. I never liked cold water before. Um, but as understanding what it does for you, that helps me a lot actually with everything that I do. Understanding why I do it or understanding the outcome. Okay, that is why I do it. I don't now I enjoy it simply for the fact that I enjoy the outcome. I enjoy how it makes me feel afterwards, you know? So that's what I look forward to. And that's the same with my meals. Like you don't always feel like, especially in summer, like it's hot, you don't always feel like cooking a steak, for example, or cooking eggs or cooking anything really. But I always enjoy what I feel like afterwards, you know? So that's why I keep in mind, you know, I I enjoy the bath. I enjoy the ice bath because I know what it's doing for my body, and when I get out of it, that feels great. Well, I don't. I enjoy the breath work for the same reason, and that it's going to get me to where I want to go. And that's simply the reason why I do it. You know. Um, so that's what I keep. That's what sort of motivates me to keep going. That's what motivates me to keep doing it. and that's why it sort of motivates. That's why it makes it so much easier to keep that routine, you know, because otherwise it'd just be too difficult to keep going. You know, like if you didn't understand why you're doing or have a reason for um, to enjoy it, or think, okay, like I'm doing this for this sort of thing, like this is making me better at what I'm doing, sort of thing, there would be no reason to do it. Why would you do it otherwise, you know? So that's why I try to give as much information as I can to people about this sort of stuff, and that's why I wrote about on the Substacks and so on, because it's very difficult um, to keep a routine or to keep that motivation if you don't really understand why you're doing it, you know. Yeah, so hopefully it helps, you know. I really do. I really do hope that it helps some people, because I know for me it's been wonderful, you know. Like I said, like I've 11 and a half years now, and you know, my oncologist and team, they can't believe that I'm still alive, let alone this healthy. So it makes a big difference. You know, it's worked for me anyway. And it, you know, like the science is catching up now as well. Like whenever it takes a long time for this stuff really to come out, honestly, doesn't it? Like I know, like the Wim Hof method, for example, for the last 15 years has been quite popular, you know, but obviously, like this is based in very ancient techniques of breath work. But nowadays, no one wants to do anything unless there's a study behind it. You know, they don't want to try anything unless, oh, what does the science say? Where's the study to prove it? Where's this study and where's that? You know, and all this other BS that, you know, it's crazy. You need proof other than what I'm giving you. Like it's I mean, seriously, like from where I was to where I am now, like what more proof do you need? But I understand that's just the way people are at the moment, because we've been sort of educated on that way. But the science is catching up, and that's what we were talking about with Dr. Seeger the other day, a couple of weeks ago, anyway, with the ice baths. You know, the information, the studies that are coming out of universities now on this subject, on breath work, on diet and exercise, and of course ice baths and everything else, sunlight and so on. It's finally catching up to us, you know. So it's really good. 100%. Thank you. Yeah, more I understand the why I do things makes me feel hopefully I can change things every day. Yeah, learning new things. Yes, motivation. I can see it. Just starting to do it. It's the hard part. Yeah, that's right. Exactly, Josephine. Yeah, starting is the hardest part, because before we start anything, or even, I mean, I still procrastinate. You know, like it's one of the problems I have with ADHD. You know, I still procrastinate, and you know, like, it still take me 20 minutes to get into the ice bath. Honestly, like I'll put the ice in the bath, and I'll turn on the cooler and the filter, and it'll still take me 20 minutes, 30 minutes to go, okay, I'll go jump in the water. When I do like for it to cool down first, to get colder, but you still sort of procrastinate. But everyone goes through that. Everyone does. Um, but the thing that keeps you doing it, though, like I said, is understanding why, or understanding the fact that afterwards this is going to be so much better for your body, you know, so much better for your health, and so much better for your mood as well. That's what motivates you to keep doing it, you know. So I think it's really important for people to understand that, you know. It's a very big part of it anyway. For me it is anyway, you know. But you know, we all have things that And of course, motivation will only get you so far as well. Motivation will get you started, all right? And I think the biggest thing is discipline. And I think that is only, see, I think that everything comes down to your habits, right? We are people, we are creatures of habit, and the people we are all comes down to what our habits are. Our habits are, uh, what we do daily is who we are, basically, right? What I'm trying to say. So when it comes down to making good habits, making good choices, right, motivation will start it, right? Discipline will keep it going, but then when it becomes a habit forming, when you've done it for, say, like every day for a month, okay, then you've pretty much formed a habit. And those habits will sort of you just get up and do it without thinking. And that's where you want to get to. You just get up and do these things without thinking too much about it. When we start thinking about these things, or do I really want to do this? Do I want to do that? It sort of makes it more difficult, and you start procrastinating. I think just how much better I feel every day, yeah, it pushes me to keep going every day. Exactly, Lainey. Because how much, after that. I mean, it might take a few days, or it might take a week or so. But when you feel that energy, when you feel that uplifting, or all that energy returning to your body, or all that recovery coming, or you just feel good, just feeling good is infectious. You want to keep feeling good all the time. It's kind of like getting that endorphin hit. We love these endorphins, and especially that's why social media and everything is so addictive. Because we keep finding these different things, we keep us sort of entertained. But feeling good is infectious, and especially when it's so easy to do. Having a cold shower and doing some breath work costs you nothing, right? It costs you absolutely nothing except a bit of time, maybe 20 minutes. And then for the rest of the day, you feel much better, don't you? And that feeling is very much infectious, and that will keep you going. Even if you don't, you don't have to exercise every day. You don't have to, you don't even have to do ice bath every day, okay, or breath work every day. But the more you do it, the more frequent you do it, the better you're going to feel. So that's the point. It's the same as actually talking about. I was talking to Abs about sauna. Okay, sauna is another good one, right? We're talking about heat. Frequency of anything that you do, okay, small amounts of frequency are going to give you a better result than like irregular volume. Okay, so for example, if doing even 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes in an ice bath on a daily, or even every second day on a regular basis, is going to be far healthier than doing one, say, 20-30 minute session once a week, right? Or once a month. Okay. So being regular, being a consistently, either, like I said, it doesn't have to be every day, but it does need to be more regular. So like smaller sessions, more regular, is going to give you a much better health result than one session once a week, for one long session once a week sort of thing. And sauna is the same. For example, I wouldn't do sauna after an ice bath, for example. I would do it before, right? Or after gym. If you go to the gym and do a weight session 5 minutes after, do a sauna for 5 to 10 minutes after the gym session, that's great. But it comes down to shorter sessions on a more regular basis. It will give you much better health benefits. All right. So like if you just went to the gym, say once a week, you might be able to maintain some things, but not everything. For example, if you ate, say, carnivore diet just once a week, and you ate a standard Western diet the rest of the week, then you're not going to get any results, right? It's the same thing with your habits. The shorter sessions, more regular, is going to give you much better health results than like irregular long sessions. Okay, so that's the real point of these habits. Making these habits, sticking to these routines, is far healthier for your body, because you are maintaining the ecosystem, right? Rather than like bringing it down for the whole, like for a week, and then just suddenly bang, and then bring it down, and then suddenly bang, sort of thing. That's the point, the whole point of it, making it a habit. Grandma channel. Grandma channel starts my smile every morning. That's good. And then onto the shower routine. Good. Yeah. Starting the day with something positive really does help. Helps with your nervous system, helps with your mood. And, of course, I mean, your mood really depends on your nervous system, doesn't it? So that's great, Lainey. I'll be cutting back on YouTube, getting outside more. Yeah, that's a good idea too, Josephine. Social media is very addictive, and again, it's all blue light, and that also raises cortisol. Okay, and it also, well, what it does actually, it doesn't actually raise cortisol. Blue light, like watching computers and screens, TV, and so on. Okay, it actually raises your autonomic nervous system into that sympathetic state. Okay, and then you get the cortisol response. Okay, which is trying to help you. So it's really about cutting back on social media or screen time. Okay, is actually going to help you with your help you get into that parasympathetic nervous state as well. Okay, and get into that ventral vagal state. You can notice this because I've actually measured this myself. When you're watching a computer screen, for example, try and be conscious of the way you're breathing. I've found that the more time I spend on the computer, the faster my breathing gets irregular, and I start breathing faster than my normal steady state. So, for example, if I'm sitting outside under a tree, just comfortably relaxing, I will breathe about 4 to 5 breaths per minute. Okay, just very relaxed, 4 or 5 maximum breaths per minute. If I'm in doing computer work under false light, like tonight, okay, then I'll breathe 7 or 8 times, maybe sometimes 9 breaths per minute. So it has a very strong effect on your breathing, your nervous system. Okay, it raises your nervous system into the parasympathetic nervous state. Sorry, the sympathetic nervous state. Okay, so you get a little bit more anxious. Cortisol raises, heart rate rises, your blood pressure rises, your breathing rises. Okay, and that means that you're lowering your CO2 levels. Okay, and that means that you're going to get vasorestriction, you get headaches, you get less oxygen to your cells, obviously, as well. So, all sorts of things going on. So, yes, grammar channel. Yeah, a lot of YouTube doesn't need to be watched. Yeah, exactly. Interviews can be listened to while out walking. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I do it quite a lot. Yeah, that's a good point, George. it's very, I mean, that's one good thing you can be doing, like, because I mean, that's one good thing about phones now. You can listen to a podcast or an audio book or whatever you listen to while you're out doing something else. You know, go for a walk and listen to that. You know, you're still outside. um be wary though of, you know, there are things like, you know, those cordless earphones, for example. They have a really high EMF um, output. Actually, it's like 25 times higher, I think, it's like the EMF output for these things. So try and avoid that sort of thing. I use the old cord headphones, earphones, right? They still do have an EMF um, output, but not as bad as the cordless ones. Um, yeah, I mean, there's always, you can always be doing something else while listening to someone. It's something if you're doing that. So yeah, it's a good point, George. Good job. Um, Again, oh yeah, you're right too. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube you just don't want to listen to anyway. Yeah, I should be careful about what you actually ingest. It's not just about your food; it's about what you take in, information-wise as well. So, um, yeah, okay. Well, does anyone have any questions? I've been doing a lot of talking actually, but yeah, throat's getting dry. So, been a big day here actually. So, what have you guys been doing anyway? Sorry, I just got a lizard on the window. There's a Actually, I'll see if I can show you guys. There's a. You see that? Yeah. Yeah. There's a little gecko. We get a lot of geckos here, actually, out in the countryside. Hey, Terrier Eyes, good to see you, mate. Brad, isn't it? Yeah, I think. How you doing, man? I've been on for an hour and a half, actually. Yeah. So we'll be talking about any number of things. Actually, we'll be talking about Gary the Gecko. Good name, Laney. Gary the Gecko. Yeah. I'll have to. I think they've got a big. I've got a big goanna in the garden as well. Actually, they're bloody huge. Yeah. So we've been talking about all kinds of things, habits, and burnout, breath work, and all sorts of other things, stimulating the three main fluids of the body, and so on. So, um, yeah. Actually, I think I might do something on those three fluids actually, because it's very interesting stuff, you know, like stimulating the cerebral spinal fluid and your lymphatic system and the lymph fluid and your blood, obviously. Yeah, these three big things that you get from, even just from, I mean, obviously the carnivore diet helps, but the stimulation you get from ice baths and breath work on those three fluids is so important and really quite remarkable too, because you can, like with breath work, for example. Obviously, we're talking about nitric oxide before, but you know, also we're talking about like hormone regulation, and obviously, you know, testosterone is also great for this as well. The ice baths, right? But you know, from the ice bath into breath work, you've stimulated testosterone to stimulate more EPO production from your kidneys, right? And then breath work does the same with hypoxia. So you can increase, like, for example, Brahmari breath work is a very good method for producing more nitric oxide, um, for one. But hypoxia breath work will stimulate the kidneys to produce more EPO, and this has actually been, like, for example, a prolonged breath hold has shown to produce up to 30% more EPO from your kidneys at about 3 hours after your last breath hold. All right. But if you've done the ice bath first and you're starting to produce more testosterone, then you're going to stimulate that even further. So I think this could be potentially, like, even go up to 40-50% more EPO production. Okay. So if you think about that, that EPO is now going to stimulate the bone marrow to produce all your blood cells again, like in a much higher rate. So red blood cells, white blood cells, stem cells, platelets, and so on. Okay. So that combination, that was the main reason why I started doing that together. Everything else all the other information that came later, obviously, was just bonus. But especially the stuff about the mitochondria, that's incredible. The fact that I didn't know mitochondria could move through the body like that, but that's really cool. It's just one of those incredible things that the body can do. If you think about one actually stimulating the brown adipose tissue, because brown adipose tissue actually takes blood glucose levels up much faster than cancer cells can, right? And faster than the liver can, so you can, it actually helps with diabetes and so on. But then you stimulate more production of mitochondria, like healthy mitochondria, and that sort of circulates throughout the body for tissue repair. It's incredible, absolutely amazing system, it really is. YouTube never fails putting ads on during the live stream. Oh, okay. That's a new low. Yeah, there would be. Oh my gosh, George. I did that today on my phone. Oh yeah, thing is the phone gets hot and freaks me out. Oh yeah, that's true too. Yeah, phones do get hot and they tend to they will shut off as well. Yeah. So that's what we've been talking about anyway. Anything else you guys want to talk about? You're more than welcome. The link is up in the top of the chat there too, if anyone wants to join me. So yeah, it's been there all night. So more than welcome. Otherwise, won't stay too much longer, unless you have something to talk about. Of course, always happy to talk about it. All right, actually, George, talking about stretching the other day. Last week, you were talking about stretching. When it comes to like recovery, stretching is a recovery exercise, right? And whenever you are about to perform an exercise, doesn't matter what exercise you're doing, it's good to warm up, yes, but not stretch beforehand. The reason being, when you stretch, you are apart from you're lengthening the muscles and the connective tissue, and yes, you do get some blood flow to those muscles and so on, but you're putting actually a fair bit of strain on them, for one, and you're actually going to, I mean, there are some people would say that you're actually going to weaken the joints or weaken the area that you are stretching before the exercise. I don't think it's really that so much. I think it's more that you don't get as much blood flow to that area as you would if you did like a dynamic sort of warm up. So, for example, if you did so like calf raises, if you're going to go for a walk, for example, okay, and you did some toe taps to warm up your calf muscles, all right, you're going to get a lot more circulation and blood flow to the joints. If you did, say, like knees together, sort of just light squats sort of thing, very simple sort of joint movements, just to get the blood flowing, circulating, get the body moving. So a dynamic sort of warm up is much healthier than a stretch. But stretching afterwards, after exercise, is part of your recovery. Because what happens when you've done some exercise, and your muscles will lengthen while you are exercising, so they will actually expand and like lengthen through exercise, because you are putting load on those muscles. Okay, resistance training is actually very good for flexibility. Stretching under load, actually, you will get flexibility, a lot more flexibility actually out of it. It's like a good dynamic stretch. But when you finish exercising, your muscles will cool down, and they will, when they get cold, it's kind of like metal. What metal will do, like metal will expand in heat, and then it will actually shrink in the cold. Okay. And when your muscles shrink, that's where you get tight. You get tight in the connective tissue, ligaments and tendons and so on, and the muscles will get a lot tighter as well. So that's why you want to stretch afterwards. But you probably want to wait at least half an hour to let your body cool down first, and then stretch, and then you're going to expand them back out to a normal length, a more comfortable length. Right? That's the way I've always done it anyway, and that's it's always helped me to avoid injury, for one, and it also helps. Stretching will actually help you in the recovery process as well, and also to build muscle as well, and strength. It's good strength exercise as well. So that's a good reason to do like a dynamic warm up, and then stretch after you've finished your exercises, say half an hour afterwards when you cool down. Okay. Or even later that afternoon. It doesn't have to be immediately. It doesn't have to be immediately after. Okay. So like a dynamic warm up, for example, might be a stationary bike. You do some like before you go for a walk. Say if you go a stationary bike, maybe just do 3 or 4, 5 minutes on the bike, sort of thing. That's an easy, low impact warm up for your legs, for example. Okay. It depends on what you have available to you as well. So it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah. Okay. So anything else you guys want to talk about? If you're listening or still there? Yeah. What else is there? If you have tried some of the breathwork sessions that I've got on my channel, let me know how you feel afterwards. Okay, I'd really like to know how you're managing afterwards, because it's just interesting to me to see how it affects other people. Actually, this afternoon I have started working on the next one. I'm trying to get out to you guys very soon. This will be kind of a difficult one, but it'll be difficult to it'll be an incline in difficulty. Okay, so the next breathwork session we're going to do, we'll start off at say 5 seconds, and we're going to expand it. We're going to go down to 30 seconds, which will be 1 breath per minute. Okay. That doesn't mean that you have to follow all the way along, but you just go to where you feel comfortable. There's a number of ways where you can get down to 1 breath per minute, for example. So you can do 1 prolonged breath inhale for say 20 seconds, and then 1 prolonged exhale for 40 seconds, for example. Or you can do a prolonged box breathing, for example. So 15 seconds in, 15 seconds hold, 15 seconds out, 15 seconds hold. So there's a number of different ways that we can get down to 1 breath per minute. So I'm going to show you a few different ways to do this. All right. Hey, Juliet, nice for you to join us. How you doing? Well, happy in the wee hours in the morning, 3:38 a.m. Wow, very early. Yeah. Do you always get up that early, or is it you just couldn't sleep? Awesome. Yes. Yeah, there's a number of ways we can get down to 1 breath. I for me, I like to do like the yogic breathing. The yogi breathing is like um, a very slow inhale, and so you sort of go belly, chest, the diaphragm, chest, and then sort of back the same way, but a very slow exhale. But box breathing is a really good way to do it as well. Like Navy SEALs, actually, there's a lot of emergency services use box breathing, right? It's a standard sort of calming exercise. Generally speaking, they do 4 seconds, so 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out, 4 seconds hold. But there's no reason why you can't expand that, you know. And like I said, we can expand that to 15 seconds for each one. That will get us down to 1 breath per minute. Now, you can also do shorter inhales and longer exhales. You can also do longer exhales, shorter exhales and longer inhales. These will give you a different effect as well. I think it's always very important to, when you finish breathwork, so like you might do a really active 2-mode breathing, like Wim Hof, for example, or breath of fire or priming. Okay, where you are standing and jumping and doing the breath work. That's priming breath work. That's very good as well. It's very effective especially for energy. So if you get say low on energy, if you do like a star jump for like, or a jumping jack, okay, or actually jumping jacks are really good, but do a really fast sort of what they call breath of fire sort of breathing technique. You're just breathing in and out through the mouth, and then do a prolonged inhale breath hold. It's very good to give you an energy boost because you've done a lot of circulation and stimulated all these fluids and so on. And it's better than a cup of coffee. Okay, so there are things like that. Like if you're at work and you're starting to fall asleep at the computer or whatever, like honestly, like 3-minute session, you can be really energized. But I always believe in doing like a nice steady warm up, and then do something more active in the middle, and then when you finish, I think you need to do more calming. Well, for me, it works anyway because I have ADHD, so I need to calm my nervous system. So if I do like Tumo breathing, I will always do something like box breathing or 4-7-8 breathing, or hara, like Japanese style hara breathing, which I've one of my videos is hara breathing. There's it's basically a slow, steady state of belly breathing. You just breathe into the belly, and then just slowly relax the air out. And you can do that with a hold in the middle as well. So, it's a good intro. The hara breathing intro video that I've got on my channel is very good to start with, but you can build that up, and the longer you prolong the inhale and the hold and the exhale, the more control you're going to have, more control over your breath you're going to have. But you're also it's also a very nice way, a very calming way of building your CO2 tolerance, which is going to help you with prolonged breath holds later on as well. So anything that's going to have a very slow inhale and exhale is also going to build your CO2 tolerance. So it's really good for things like building your VO2 max, okay, for one. So if you're an athlete, for example, it's also going to help you with prolonged breath holds. It's also going to help you with hypoxia inducible factors, so you're going to produce more EPO. And it will also help you to do this, like bring your nervous system into a calming state, into that ventral vagal state, into that rest and digest. So you will get a lower heart rate. Obviously, is also very good for sport, because even an active sport, you still want to be able to control your heart rate. To lower your heart rate through active sport, the harder you can push yourself. Okay, so you'd be a much better athlete. But again, you also want to be able to eat in that ventral vagal state, because then you will absorb far more nutrients from your food. Okay, and I've spoken about this before too. If you are eating in that sympathetic nervous state, in that fight or flight, then your body's not ready to digest any food, and it'll actually just pass through with, only absorbing anywhere between 30 to 50% of the nutrients. Okay, so you can lose, a lot of a lot of the nutrients from your food just because you're in that wrong nervous state. So it's going to make a very big difference to your recovery. That's why I always say, if after any kind of exercise, get yourself into that ventral vagal state, that controlled nervous system, so that you can then recover faster, and then then you can eat your post-workout meal. All right. Otherwise, it's kind of pointless. Um, and that's another good reason why many bodybuilders, for example, will do, when they finish their workout session, they will walk. They'll go for a walk, either outside. Outside is better, obviously. Or they do like 10, 20 minutes of walking on the treadmill in the gym. When you are just naturally when you are walking, we tend to naturally get into what they call cardiac coherent breathing, which is about, on average, 5 or 6 seconds, 5 or 6 breaths per minute. Okay, so about 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. That slows your heart rate and gets you into that ventral vagal state. All right, and that is why they usually do that after their training session, because that gets them into that recovery state. Otherwise, it can take you, if you don't get into that recovery state, you're slowing down your recovery dramatically. Okay, it's not just about the digestion of food and the nutrient absorption, which is very big part of it. But unless you're in that ventral vagal state, if you are always in that sympathetic nervous state, your recovery is going to take far longer. You're just not going to get the same results at all. It's going to take you. It's going to be one of those people that are always one of those hard gainers, they call them. People who just can't put on muscle, for example. So these are really important reasons why you need to control your breath and need to control your nervous system. Yeah. Yeah, the box breathing is a pattern that I follow when I remember. No, that's good. That's good. Yeah. And like I said, George, you can do 4 seconds in. You can extend that out for to build up your CO2 tolerance, and to you get really good benefits from that, actually. The breathing pattern while jumping jacks. That breathing pattern while jumping jacks. Okay, so that's one example. This is what they call priming. Okay, now jumping jacks is just an example of it doesn't have to be exactly jumping jacks, but jumping is good. Jumping and arm action. Okay, so like breathing wise, you just breathe heavy and fast, and then take in. Actually, we'll do it right now. All right, we'll do a priming session. Everyone, I'll tell you what. Let's stand up. All right. If you want to try this, stand up and do a jumping. Like you can either do a jumping jack, okay, and or just jumping up in it like you're doing jump rope, and lifting the arms up in the air. Okay, you feel kind of silly, all right. So, but don't worry, we're all doing it. The breathing action, okay, is going to be mostly belly, and we're going to breathe in and out through the mouth, and we're going to do this. I'll get a let me get a timer. Okay. So we're going to do this for 1 minute, and then we're going to take one big breath in and hold it for as long as we can. Okay. Now this, you may feel dizzy, all right, because you're blowing off a lot of CO2. All right. Jumping, yeah, probably don't do it on the rebounder, Juliet. It might be a bit dangerous because you will feel dizzy after this, and you may need to sit down. Okay. All right. So we're going to do this for 1 minute. All right. So I've got 1 minute. All right. Now the breath action. All right. Let's see. All right. Let's get the guitar out of the way. All right. Now the breath action. You breathe in to the top of the belly and just go just like that. Okay. I'm going to do that for a minute. So we're going to blow up a lot of CO2. But at the end of that minute, we're going to take a deep breath in. So and then we're going to hold that inhale for as long as we can. Okay. So we'll just go for 1 minute. Well, if you can't do 1 minute, that's fine. Okay. Just as long as you can. All right? So I've got 1 minute. I'm going to do jumping jacks. All right. Jumping jacks and doing the breathing at the same time. So, all right. So you look kind of silly and you feel kind of silly, but it's very effective. Okay. So let me know when you're ready. All right. Ready? Okay. Let's go. All right. So we're going to go 1 minute from now. There we go. So, "20 seconds. Keep going. 10 seconds. Deep breath in. Hold. Okay, now hold your breath. Okay. May 35. Yeah, don't do this before bed. Okay, this is something you do in the morning. Okay. Maybe lunchtime if you're tired at work. Okay. It's just an energizing thing. It's not something you do at night. Okay. Okay. Okay, relax. How long did you hold your breath for? Okay. So that is something, it's called priming. Okay. It's very energizing. It's a great thing to do first thing in the morning, especially after an ice bath. Okay. A great way to warm up. If you're at work, you're starting to feel a bit tired, just one session of one round of priming will boost that energy up. Okay. It's make you feel much more alert than a cup of coffee would. Okay. So let me know how you feel. All right. Now, usually you might do, say, 2 or 3, maybe 3 rounds. Okay. So you do that 3 times. And then afterwards, you might do more down regulating sort of breath work as well. Okay. Did it. I feel good, but and couldn't hold breath long. But that's okay. I mean, just hold it for as long as you could. That's fine. Doesn't have to be a very long breath hold. Okay. What feels long for you, okay, is very different for other people. So don't worry about how long. Don't worry about how long you can hold it for. Just do what you can. Okay. How do you feel, Juliet? 10 seconds? That's not bad. Not bad at all. I'll be up for a while. I have to do my studies before tomorrow. Oh, okay. I've done everything else but studies. Yeah, a little lightheaded. Yeah, you do get lightheaded. Okay. And it takes a little while for that to settle down, but you will feel more energized, more alert afterwards. Okay. So that one's called priming. And it's like I said, it's ideal straight after an ice bath because you're going to warm up your body for one, and it will make you feel more alert later on. It's not something you want to do at night usually, depending on what you're doing, but it's very good for like a short burst of energy to like get everything circulated. If you're at work, say you get to lunchtime and you feeling a bit sleepy, that's a good time to do it. All right. So good job. Well done. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, it should do. It's very good to just to sort of wake yourself up, and sort of spark a bit of alertness as well. So yeah, great. 60-second jumping jack, easy. Yeah. I mean, you can with all of these exercises, you can do these for as long as you want. Okay. Obviously, the longer you do the jumping jacks and the heavy breathing, then obviously the more lightheaded you're going to get afterwards because you are blowing off a lot of CO2. All right. So you can do this in short rounds, like 1 minute jumping jacks, and then hold your breath for as long as you want, or as long as you can. And you can do that, so say 2, 3, 4 rounds if you want, even 5. It's up to you. But then you can also do it like a longer session. So they can do, say, 1.5 minutes and then 2 minutes of jumping jacks, the faster breathing. But you're going to feel more lightheaded because you are doing you're blowing off a lot more CO2. Okay. So that's going to be a different effect. You're still going to get, either way you do it, you're still going to build CO2 tolerance, for one, because of even though you're blowing off a lot of CO2, you still have that prolonged breath hold at the end of it. Okay. And that's where you sort of balance out those CO2 levels with the breath hold. Okay. So, yeah, but you will get lightheaded. Right. So, thank you, Carl. I really appreciate that, mate. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you're awake now. It's a perfect exercise first thing in the morning. It really is very good, actually. So anything that's going to stimulate circulation like that, for example, tumor breathing is very good. I think it's good to have a combination of these different breathwork sessions to do, especially first thing in the morning, or even at night. The lower calming ones as well. So, yeah. Recently did a video about the risk of seed oils. Oh, okay, yeah, and surprised people don't believe you. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Mm. As they rather believe the mainstream rather than think it's the cause of their issues. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, like people believe what they are taught. And we tend to think of you especially when you got doctors out there saying, "Oh, but seed oils are healthy," and so on and so on. So it makes it very difficult. Um, one of the other things that a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to seed oils, though, is the fact that they are a very strong xenoestrogen effect. Um, when you're, I mean, obviously there's a lot of other problems. I mean, it's made for machines, right? It's a man-made process, disgusting chemical, basically. Um, and it's something actually that Lindt chocolate, for example, recently they were busted because their chocolate is actually not chocolate. It's actually just colored vegetable fat or vegetable oils, seed oils, basically. Um, but yeah, when people talk about seed oils, apart from the fact that they are machine oils and should be like biofuel sort of thing, more than anything, and lubricants, and then you got the omega sixes sort of impact as well. But people don't understand the fact that it's also a very strong, very powerful xenoestrogen. And the reason why testosterone levels are getting so much lower these in the last 4 decades or so is because of seed oils. Seed oils are in absolutely everything, all this processed food. It lowers it blocks your ability, or okay, one, lowers cholesterol for a start, okay, but then it also lowers the production of testosterone. And what we were just talking about before with breath work, testosterone is needed for the kidneys to produce EPO, which means that you're going to get lower production of blood cell production because it's from the bone marrow, because you have low EPO, which means that you're going to also have low white cell blood count. You're going to have a low immune system, and when your immune system shuts down, you get sick. Yeah, there's so many things that these seed oils do to you. It's crazy. People don't want to know about it. It's heart healthy. Utter nonsense. I've got to go to work right now. Great chat, everyone. Well, thanks, Louise. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Have a good day at work. Yeah, since I stopped with the seed oils, I stopped getting sunburn. Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things too. I mean, we synthesize D, like hormone, like D3 or D hormones from cholesterol, right? You lower your cholesterol level, you lower your D, and D is our natural sunscreen as well. So, conditioner for our skin as well, and also nitric oxide levels as well. So there's so many reasons why these toxins should not be in our food supply. They shouldn't be anywhere near us. Yeah, it's disgusting. It really is absolutely disgusting. Now they deleted my question from earlier. Okay, that's why I put up the super sticker. Oh, I'm sorry, Brad. Where's your question, mate? I didn't see your question, Betty. I didn't see your super sticker either. Sorry, mate. Oh, there it is. Thank you, mate. I really appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. So what was the question, mate? I'm trying to find it. Trying to find it. Trying to find it. Sorry, mate. I can't see the sticker. Oh, there's the sticker. Yep, super sticker. Thank you. Um, yeah, just type in the question again. Thanks, Brad. I'll get to it. 5 years ago, Doug came home one day and tossed out all our seed oils. Oh, good man. Yeah, that's good. I, I mean, it's not just the I mean, it's not just the raw form of it either. The fact that these seed oils are in everything that we eat, like all our processed foods now, even beef jerky, for God's sake. Like if you go to Costco, all of their beef jerkies or whatever jerky that they have. In fact, it doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't have to be Costco. It can be anywhere. Pretty much, 99% of them are going to have like soy enhanced proteins. Okay, and it's processed with seed oils and it's crazy. It's in absolutely everything that we consume. Especially in the standard Western diet, anything that's processed at all, ice creams and everything basically. It's disgusting, absolutely disgusting. They know it too. Like, I mean, they're deliberately poisoning us, the population. But it is what it is. At least we find out, and at least we know about it. It is unfortunate though that people just don't believe it. Okay, they say I have plenty of salt during the day, but need to be careful later in the day because I get really thirsty before bed. Thoughts? Um, okay, well, I mean, the reason you get thirsty could be a number of reasons. I find that toothpaste, for example, makes me very thirsty at night. So if I brush my teeth with toothpaste, that will make me very thirsty. So I generally just use an oil. I use like a coconut oil or even just water is fine too to brush your teeth. I really don't have any trouble actually with just water. Um, salt wise, you should be. I mean, if you're eating enough salt, you should be holding on to your water. It should be stopping you from getting thirsty. Actually, it could be magnesium, maybe. Maybe some of the electrolytes you're not getting somehow. Um, hmm. That's what I would be looking at. I would be looking at the type of electrolytes that you maybe missing magnesium, um, helping you to stay hydrated, perhaps. That's what I would be looking at. Maybe try that. Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, if you're thirsty, just drink water. If it helps you to sleep, if it helps you to, if you are thirsty, I mean, it depends on how active you are too, Brad. Like if you're very active through the day, you may need to drink water later in the night as well. If you're thirsty, then maybe you just need the water. I'm not sure how much water you drink throughout the rest of the day. You could try increasing your water intake through earlier in the day. That might help. But otherwise, don't be afraid to drink at night either. I'll drink water right up until like 7, 8 o'clock. So um, it just depends on what your activity is like later in the day, I guess, as well. Give it a try. If you have trouble, like if you need to get out through the night, sort of thing. A lot of the uh, having, like, for example, if you're trying to avoid water at night because you might have to get up to go to the toilet, that's not always because you drink too much water. It could be also because you're mouth breathing. When you are mouth breathing, you also get there's a signal you get, sort of triggers a reaction in the brain. It tells your bladder to fill up and tells you to go to the toilet. It's just one of the side effects of mouth breathing when you're sleeping. So it's not always because you drink too much water. What I would do is just play around with your salt intake and your water intake later in the day, and just try and work out what works better for you. Um, But like I said, if I've had a big day, like for example, today I did, I've done a couple of sessions outside, so I will drink water right up until maybe an hour before I go to bed. So, don't be afraid to drink water at night if you need to. Do you believe, as I do, that we have lost the primal ability to listen to our own bodies? Oh, absolutely, because of all the programming of 3 meals a day. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So, absolutely. Not just because of the programming. Okay, I think it's the food itself, so the standard Western diet, processed foods especially, and seed oils. Our bodies are less sensitive, or we're kind of numb. Our nervous system is numb because we don't have the same I don't know, that same kind of intuitive sort of feel for our body, because we're just not, I don't know, everything's just numb from all the junk food. So I think it's really, programming is part of it, yes, definitely. But the food itself is also another part of it. It just makes our body numb, and we can't really feel what's going on. But yeah, I definitely agree with that 100%. Because I mean, when I was diagnosed, I was in such a bad way, even all my organ damage and everything else. Yeah, I had no idea. I felt fine. I thought I felt fine, you know. Whereas now, like, I'm so much more sensitive, more in tune to how I react. I just had to change my camera. Hang on a second, guys. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now I'm so much more in tune that if I do go off diet or something changes, I can feel it immediately. So yeah, it's definitely that. It's a lot of the, 100% agree. Mm, mm. I just don't like drinking too much after meals. Yeah, after meals, no, definitely not after meals. Especially like, now this is another reason why I eat my meat cold. So like I will cook it a little bit, very little bit, and I like the texture of fat more when it's cold. Okay, when it's cooked, when it's rendered, okay, it tends to go straight through you, especially if you drink water with it. Okay, so you just sort of put it on a slippery slope and it just goes straight through you. So yeah, you don't want to really necessarily drink a lot of water around your meals. Usually like an hour or a couple of hours between it, like afterwards or before. But depending on when you eat your meal, I guess, and when you go to sleep, I would try. Yeah, I would just try playing around with it. I mean, it's really, there's a really nuanced sort of things that you just need to sort of experiment with. It's the same with, like, we can give you a general idea of what to eat and when to eat, sort of thing, like timing wise, all right? But at the end of the day, everyone has to do their own little experimenting with what's going to make them feel best at that time, because we all have our own routines and we all have our own sort of issues going on. So I would play around. Maybe don't be afraid to eat salt late in the day. I think it's, I eat a lot of salt at night, especially with my meals, because I like it very salty. But I also salt. I have salt in my, or magnesium salts in my ice bath. I have it on my food. I have it in my water. My water is quite salty as well. So I wouldn't avoid it, actually. It's really just, if you feel thirsty before you go to bed, drink some water. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to, that, like, one glass of water before you sleep is not going to get you up at night, in the middle of the night, to go to the toilet. All right. So I'd give it a try. I keep water on my nightstand. Yeah. I often wake up to pee. Yeah. Feel thirsty, drink water, and back to sleep. Yeah. I'm a nose breather. Maybe it's more of a habit. Yeah, that sounds more like a habit, Juliet. Um, if you, I mean, I never get up to pee. I mean, to be honest, I mean, not till morning anyway. Not till like 5 o'clock in the morning. So it's I think it's just finding that balance that works for you. You know, for you, that does sound like a bit of a habit. You know, something you've gotten used to, and that's what's it's a routine that your body has gotten used to. It's the same with like everything that we do, right? When we are training our nervous system. Everything that we do, we are training our nervous system to react a certain way. So if you get into the habit, for example, Juliet is has a water on the nightstand and she drinks it before sleep and then gets up in the middle of the night. She's trained her nervous system to trigger. Okay, I'm drinking water now, and I get up in the middle of the night. This is a normal thing for me. So this is what I'm going to keep on doing. Okay. So this is what you're doing. Every time that you are training, you do these things, you are training your nervous system um to make this a habit. Right. So this is why we have to, when we do want to make a healthy habit, this is why we need to repeat this for at least like 1 month, say 30 every day for a month, sort of thing. Um, Some people will say, I don't, I know some people that don't drink water after, say, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but they're not very active after that point. Right. Um, I know some people will drink right up until bed and they have no problem. So these are things that you just need to play around with, and you're going to have to train yourself to, like your nervous system, to act the way you want it to as well. Okay. So if you don't want to, if you're having trouble with getting up in the middle of the night and going to drink water, okay, so you need to find a way to break that habit. So stop putting the water by the nightstand for a start. All right, for just an example, Juliet, if you're comfortable doing that, you keep doing that. That's fine. But just an example. So to break that habit, I would just stop having that water next to the nightstand, because then your body's thinking, okay, there's no water there. I need to hold on to it, sort of thing, and maybe I don't need to get up and go to the toilet, sort of thing. So these are just things you need to play around with. Right? That explains a lot. Thank you. Oh, you're very welcome, Josephine. I'm glad it helped. Hi, DC. Hey, Alex, how you doing, man? I have been doing the cold showers since. Excellent, very good. Since last live, I made it. It feels so good afterwards. I was watching off my TV, so I could comment. Ah, thanks very much. I appreciate that. My phone was lost somewhere on purpose. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I'm glad it helps. I'm really glad it helps. Um, there's so many benefits to being, getting into that cold water. Honestly, I know it's very difficult for people to understand why, and I know it's very difficult to sort of motivate yourself to get into that cold at first. But yeah, you're right. I'm glad you feel better afterwards, man, because it really does. It does, doesn't it? It feels fantastic. Yeah. That's right, Carl. Yeah. Today at work, one person was complaining of nausea and stomach pain. But come lunchtime, he was the first to scoff down his full carb platter. Yeah, that's always the same. Yeah, it's always the same, isn't it, guys? Like the the first people to complain about how they feel, like the always aches and pains, or they can't lose weight, or this, that, and the other thing. But then you have a look at their diet, you have a look at the food they're eating. That- that's just the way people are all around us, and even like people at family. Um, I know how many people do you hear like it's all just genetics. I know so many people that like really big, have all kinds of health issues. Some have dementia, some have, chronic inflammation, all kinds of other problems, breathing problems, and so on. And so, it's just it's always just your genes. It's just the family genes, and it's just genetics, and it's just bad luck and all that sort of bullshit. And but then I was in the same time, like the only thing they would drink is Coca-Cola or some soft drink like that, and they'll sit down and they'll eat a whole cake. It's like, yeah, 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 that's working for you, isn't it? It's crazy. Absolutely, it is absolutely mind-boggling crazy. But oh well, that's just the way people are. People don't like to change. They want that silver bullet pill, the magic pill that everyone's going to get, and they'll feel much better and healthy. And I think the thing is too, when we're talking about that propaganda and education that we were talking about before, why people feel so numb. Um, we believe that as we get older, it's just a natural thing for us to deteriorate so quickly. We just naturally believe that you know after 20 or after 30 years old, it's all downhill, and that you're supposed to get fatter, and you're supposed to get weaker, and you're supposed to get pains and joint pains and all that sort of stuff. you know but then when you change your lifestyle and change your diet, and you wake up and realize that all this poison food that we're eating and lifestyle we're sort of living, and that was the cause of it all. It's crazy. It really is. It's amazing, the difference, honestly. So it really is. But everyone, so many people are so convinced that. I think people are let me see, they're sort of that no one really likes change, any big change. They don't want to. They settle into. They get comfortable. Comfort is what kills us, and that's the whole thing about ice bars and things like that. Warm water all the time. But comfort is what kills us. We get comfortable in knowing, because it's easy to say, okay, I know what to eat today. I'm just going to eat whatever's there, whatever's easy. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about this, that, and the other thing. I just want to be spoon fed, basically. It's comfortable. It's comfortable. What we were taught in school, that's it. That's finished. That's comfortable. I know what I need to know now. I can do my job. I can make money. That's all I need. So I'm comfortable. But they don't, when they're in that comfort zone, no one wants to change. They don't want to get out of that comfort zone. They don't want to make any changes. They don't want to wake up. So it's going to be a very difficult, I think, process for like general population sort of thing. This is why it takes so long to get the information out there for these movements to sort of grow. Yeah. Glad I don't work in 100-person office. Oh yeah, God, yeah, anymore. Yeah, I work from home. I couldn't deal with the junk food daily. Yeah, donut day, taco day, pizza day. Yeah, I know. Like, groups do that, don't they? It's like you have a big office. You have an office group of people, and it's like everyone's got to have this. We're all got to eat the same thing. Well, let's have a donut day or pizza day and things like that. It's crazy. It's really crazy. It's the same with actually, we're talking about gyms before a little bit earlier. Jonathan was saying that there's a gym he knows that every Monday they have a fruit day, right? But actually, I just thought of the name. It's called Planet Fitness, an American chain. It's called Planet Fitness, and I think it's like they recently came to Australia, like about 5 years ago or so, and like, it's a very, very cheap gym, but it's one of those woke gyms. And every Tuesday or something, or once a week anyway, they have pizza day, And as you go into the gym, Planet Fitness, they give you a pizza. What the hell kind of gym is that? Seriously, you know? I mean, obviously they want return customers, right? So, it works for them. Yeah, enough blue light for one evening. Good night. Good night, Brad. Good on you, mate. Take it easy. Thanks for joining us, mate. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Remember to press the like button before you go. Thank you very much for reminding us. Yeah. Yeah. Take it easy, mate. Yeah, I hope the water thing you get it sorted out, mate. But I mean, it's just one of those things you're gonna have to play around with anyway. Lady, I cooked duck egg in beef tallow. Sounds good. The 6-year-old granddaughter, and she said it was the yummiest egg she'd ever had. Yeah, it sounds good actually. Yeah, yeah. Duck eggs are nice actually. I like duck eggs. Yeah, very fatty, very fatty. So you can't have too much of them. But yeah, I do like them very much. Yeah, good size too. You feel like you're getting more money, like more value from a duck egg, don't you? Because of the size of them. I've got more lizards on my window. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, it's been 2.5 hours, so I might leave it there unless you've got any more questions or something else you want to talk about. Okay. Yeah, huge yolks. Yeah, big yolks. Yeah, they're good. Otherwise, we might leave it there for tonight. Yeah, so I'll give you, say, another 3 minutes or so. 3 minutes. But I think that, yeah, I mean, we're talking about the programming you're talking about before, Carl. Yeah, the programming is very strong, and the fact that so many people are coming out of it, though, I think is a good testament to us or to them and to all of us actually that we've really beaten a lot of say like trillions of dollars worth of propaganda and toxic food supplies. So doing pretty well, doing pretty well. Thank you, George. Really appreciate that, my man. Yeah. Okay. Night. Enjoy your beautiful night and day. Well, thanks, Josephine. Really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I really do appreciate you all coming along, and I do enjoy these chats when we get to do them. So, and if of course anytime you have any more questions or you want any subject you want to talk about, please just leave it in the comments, and I'll either get back to you in the comments, or we can always chat about this next live session as well. I will be doing another one of this for Patreons tomorrow night, same time. Members on Friday, same time, and then of course Saturday morning I'll be doing another live. Okay. So I really appreciate everyone coming and joining. Really do. I hope to see you all again soon. Okay. So have a great day or night wherever you are, and we'll talk soon. Bye bye.